Hi everybody, this is TechNolli. Today we got a beautiful build for a channel subscriber. He has decided to go with an Intel i9-9900K. We're going to put in this beautiful Asus Z390 motherboard. And we've got a Radeon RX 580. We've got a couple of terabytes of hard drives there, NVMe's, 32 gigs of RAM, this nice Noctua CPU fan. We're going to put in a Fenvi Bluetooth Wi-Fi card, and we've got this 750 watt Seasonic power supply, and this Fractal Define 7 case. This is a beast of a case, guys, and I'm going to show you all the things you can do with it. It's a really nice case. I really like it. So we're going to build this computer. If anybody else needs a computer built, please let me know. Just go to TechNolli.com. And we're going to Hackintosh this one, get it up and running. I'm going to show you everything on it. And we're going to use OPENCORE 0.5.8. So, let's get started on this one. Okay guys, let's get started with this beautiful motherboard. Really like this board. Let's open it up here. Welcome to the Republic. Okay. Alright, so we got our antennas. That's cool. Let's pull out the board here. Now, I believe this does have the Wi-Fi built on, so we're going to try to put in that little Wi-Fi Bluetooth card that is supposed to be supported with Mac OS. And we will see if that's going to work. That'll be interesting. But this is a nice board. We did this. We did a test on this board about a month ago, and it really is a great board. Really thick, really heavy, really well constructed, really nice. We've got 2 slots for NVMe's right here, right here. We've got a whole slew of USBs here, USB-C. We've got a HDMI and a display port, LAN connector, audio. So nice board, super nice. Okay, let's see what else comes in the box. Some standoffs for the hard drives. We're going to need that. And let's see here. Another screw. Stickers. All right, that's all we need. Okay, let's get this CPU mounted on this guy. And I think you've seen me do enough of these. You probably know how to do this on your own. But we'll go through it anyways. So, it's always a nice thing to open up the egg. Or the whatever it is. I call it an egg. So here's the seal. Let's undo the seal. Ooh. There she is. So we just open up the egg. I'm going to razor knife it. There we go. There it is. i9-9900K. Alright, let's take it out of the egg. Okay guys, so on these sockets, you don't want to touch any of those pins in there. You don't want to touch them at all. Because if you do bend those pins, it's over. And it's time to buy a new motherboard. So let's take this beauty out of here. And you just line up the CPU. I'll show you how. So line up these notches right here with the notches on the socket. All right. So just lay it in there very gently. And there it is. That's as easy as it is. Make sure this little tongue goes underneath that screw and just pop that down and this will pop off. And it's as simple as that. Really easy. Okay, let's put on this monster of a Noctua cooler. This is a nice cooler. And it should be dead quiet. Okay, man, it is just a beast. All right, so let's open it up. There we go. So there it is, guys. That is just a nice fan. Super nice. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to mount some brackets on the motherboard. And then here is the Intel guide. So all you do is put the big plate on the back. Right there, we line that little U up with that screw right there on the back of the motherboard. All right, just put that down. Okay guys, so grab this little baggie of standoffs and little screws, and then we want the shorter brackets. There's long ones and short ones. We want the shorter ones for Intel. First off, we want to use these little standoffs and just put those on. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, then we want this little screw to stand up. So we'll put it on just like this. The bracket kind of goes in the center screws holes. All right. And then we'll just put these thumb screws down on the brackets. Now I'm just going to take a regular old screwdriver. Yes, and it's old. And tighten them down a little bit because this computer is getting shipped, so I want it to not vibrate loose. Okay. Now they will send you some thermal paste in the box. And I just put a little bit in the center. And just a tiny little dot on each corner. That's it. Don't need tons. And now what we want to do is take off this fan, this big fan, and then we'll just mount this right on top with those studs that are sticking up. Now these springs have a little bit, or these screws have a little bit of a spring on them, so you have to give it a little bit of pressure to get it started. And once you get it started, you can tighten it down a little bit. Put even pressure on it. There we go. That's it. All right, now we can put the fan back on. And then guys, you just want to turn it with the label not showing towards you, like this. And just kind of put it on, press it on here a little bit. Put a clip on here. Like that. And a clip over here. And make sure it's level. There we go. All done. Now we'll go ahead and plug into the motherboard the fan header, which is right here. And while I'm right here, I'm going to go ahead and put the RAM in this thing. Okay, make sure you line up your notches. See, that's not correct. And you want to put it in the second slot for the first one. And the fourth slot. There we go, 32 gigs. Now this gentleman has 2 NVMe drives, so we're going to go ahead and mount those, because I think we're going to do dual boot on this. Sabrent. Okay. Okay. Ooh. Ooh. These are the nice ones. Okay. And then we'll just put our cover back on. And that holds it into place. All right. So there we go. And then we shall put in this beautiful NVMe. All right, one, and tighten this one. Beautiful. There we go. 3 terabytes total, 32 gig of RAM, big beautiful processor. It's time to put this in the case. Let me get this desk cleared off so I can get the case started. Now guys, let's talk about cases. This is a really nice case. You look at this case and you think, well, where's the screws to undo it? How do you get this thing apart? Well, all you do is just lift up. And it's got these little catches on it, so you don't have to use screws for anything. And look at this big, beautiful vent to keep the dust out. I mean, this is a quality case right here. And they're not even that expensive, really. You just pull that. There's the inside of your case. Now, you want to do cable management? Let's turn it around here. Look at that beauty right there. Isn't that nice? All these ties, all this beautiful little rubber things to get your cable management done. It's just really, really a nice case. Really nice. Look at that. You got room for hard drives back here. Here's some 2.5s. Here you could put a 3 on. I mean, it's just, it's got everything you'd want. Look at that monster. Isn't that beautiful? Okay. So enough admiring. Let's get it built and see what we need to do for standoffs. And looky there. They put in the standoffs for you, just like on the last case that we did. So that's nice. All right, let's get the motherboard and put it in there. Okay guys, so let's go ahead and put that baby in there. Let's see if we can get it in without having to take that back fan off. And so there we go. Good and solid on the back. And there we go. Nice. Now, it comes with a huge box of screws. And all kinds of goodies in here. It's got little rubber mounts for those hard drives that still make noises, the spinning ones. So we can put these under shock absorbers. We've got some coarse thread. I think these are the ones for the motherboard. Let's check and see. Alright, little magnetic screwdriver to see if these are the ones. Yep, those are it. So we'll put all these in, guys, and one more. Okay, now let's go ahead and hook up all of our headers on this motherboard. Okay, all the case headers. Okay guys, so I got in the front panel audio connector here. This is for our USB 3, this big connector. We've got a USB header for the case. And then we've got another USB for the case here. And then there are our switches for reset and power and our LED light. So we are ready now to put in the power supply. This power supply is really nice. This is a Focus semi-modular, so you can plug in your PCIe's here and your SATAs if you need them. It's really heavy. It comes with some straps and zip ties, screws, and then there's all your extra cables for graphics, or if you want to put in your old school hard drives here, your spinners, or an SSD on the back. It's got the SATA cables. All right, so let's get this put in. On the back of this case, it's got these thumb screws that you just undo. There we go. Okay, and then you can mount this on the power supply, right like that. Okay, let's put these screws in. And number 4. Just tighten them all up here. Okay, then we just feed our cables through the hole right here. Slide that in there. And thumb screw it in. And there it goes. Alright, so now I'm going to run some cables around to the motherboard, clean this up, and then we'll be right back. Okay guys, so let's put in this beautiful little Sapphire Rx 580. Put it right in here. There it goes. Got some cables I already ran for it. Okay, put that on. There we go. Alright, so that's pretty good. Put my screws back in the top here for the card. Alright, that's in there nice and solid. Now we've got our Fenby card we got to put in for Wi-Fi Bluetooth. Okay, this is the 1200M. And we'll just slide it in this port right up in here, this PCIe, put it in, put a screw in the top. Okay, and don't forget, it has a little USB cable we have to connect to it. So we have to connect this to the motherboard, and this little pin goes on the back of the card. So I'm going to plug it into the motherboard. And that's it for that. Natively supported in Mac OS. Okay guys, so let's get this thing installed with Mac OS Catalina. Okay guys, so here we are with this thing. We've got the 3.6 i9, 32 gigs, and RX 580 with 8 gigabytes. So everything is installed. Everything's good. We've got Bluetooth, which is right here, and I've got my Apple mouse hooked up to it. You'll see it up here. And we're hooked up to Wi-Fi right now. So everything on this works good. So let's get started with installing OPENCORE 0.5.8. So maybe the easiest thing for you to do is to go over my website, TechNolli.com, and right now there's no charge for any downloads. So just go over here and let's download a few things. We need OPENCORE. So this will take you right to their website. These guys are amazing. And we want to just grab this OPENCORE 0.5.8 release. So we'll download that. Let's go back to my page. We're going to need Mackie ASL. So I'll grab that. And we're going to need Property. Just download this whole thing. All right. Now, if you click on drivers and KEX, right here is where you can find all the drivers and KEX that I'm going to use for this particular computer. And you can download them directly from their website because these are the newest versions. I always want you guys to use the newest versions of KEX and drivers, okay? So if I have them on my website like I used to,
Number one, we're not giving credit to the proper people who create all of this, and you're not getting the latest up-to-date drivers, and I want you to use the latest because that's always going to be better, okay? So we're good to go there, and we've got what we need to get started. All right, so let's go out of here, and I'm just going to make a folder on my desktop, and I'm going to call it EFI, okay? Now, let's go over here to the downloads, and right here is OpenCore. I'll just put all this on the desktop so you can see what I'm doing. All right. So what we first want to do is go over here to OpenCore, and we want to drag, let me open this up. We want to drag this EFI folder and put it into here. All right. So while we're here, let's double click on it and go to OC, double click on Docs, and we're going to get this sample right here, sample config.plist. So I'll just grab that, copy and paste it, put it into here. And let's rename it to config.plist. All right. Let's go under Tools, and we'll just get rid of all of these. Just move them to the trash. All right. We're going to need drivers and kext. All right. So let me go ahead and close this down. And we're also going to need some SSDTs, which we'll build in a second. So let's talk about drivers. All right. On OpenCore 0.5.8, we can get rid of, for this particular computer, because it's a newer computer, we can get rid of everything in here except for openruntime.efi. So I'll just get rid of all of these, grab these, and move them to the trash. Now let's go back over to the OpenCore website, drivers and kext, and we're going to need this file right here, HFS plus. So we'll download that. And let me tell you what else we need. For our kext, we need virtual SMC, and I want to download the release version. We're going to need Lilu, and I'm going to download the release version. And then let's go back. We're going to need whatever green, and we want to download the release version. We're going to need Apple ALC, that's like an audio driver, and we'll download the release version. See, these are all of the newest of these files, so we're getting the latest. Now, this particular motherboard has an Intel i219 Ethernet, so I need Intel Mousy. If you have an i211, then you have to get the small tree. And then if you have Realtek, it's down here. So basically with newer motherboards, it's either going to be Intel Mousy, small tree, or Realtek. So I'm going to grab this one because that's my motherboard. And click on the release version. Okay, now let me minimize this now for now. Go back over here to downloads and see what we have. All right. Now we'll open this back up. We'll go over here to OC and drivers. The first thing we need to do is grab this one and put it into here. That's it. That's all we need for drivers. Now we'll go back and go to kext, and then we'll just double click on the kext, and I need virtual SMC, and I need Lilu, and here is the kext for Lilu. I need whatever green, and that is the kext. Whatever, it's the name dot kext, okay? That's what you need. Apple ALC dot kext. And then we need Intel Mousy dot kext. So there are our kexts that we need for this build. And that's it. That's pretty simple. Now we need to go over to the actual OpenCore website. So just type in OPENCORE, and we'll click here, and then we want to go OPENCORE Desktop Guide. That'll take us here. Now, since this is an Intel Z390 motherboard, that is a Coffee Lake chipset. So we want to click Coffee Lake. And then for right now, we'll just go down here to ACPI, because remember, we don't have anything in here yet, and we need some SSDTs for this to work properly. So we need these particular SSDTs. Now, this one down here, if we go over here and click here, it's already compiled for us, and we can just download it. Okay? So that's done. So now we have to compile these three. So let's use this little program right here, Mackie ASL, right click and open. And for some reason, you have to right click it again. And then go back up to new. So we have a blank one here. And we can now close this one. And all we have to do, guys, is go over here to SSDT plug, click on raw. And then, let me move this over so you can see what's going on. We're just going to select all and copy, and then paste it right into here. Then go up to File, Save As, and this is SSDT-plug. And we're going to save it to the desktop. And we have to change the file format to ACPI. Okay? All right. Now we can just select all and get rid of all of that. And let's go to the next one. So we'll click on ACPI and take us right down to here. All right, we need this one. We'll click on raw. We'll just click in the white space, select all and copy, and then paste it into here. File, Save As. And this one, guys, it is named SSDT-EC-USB-X. And we're saving it to the desktop and ACPI machine language. And save it. One more. Select all, delete, and let's go back. And we need to grab this SSDT-AWAC raw, select all, copy, and paste it into here. And then just save as. And this one is SSDT-AWAC. And save it to the desktop. Now remember, we downloaded that other one, and it's right here. So let's go ahead and grab that and put it out here on the desktop. Okay, now for now we can just minimize out of here, and we want to grab all of these SSDTs and just put them into the ACPI folder right there. Okay, so now we have our SSDTs, we have our drivers, and we have our kext. Now what we have to do is build our config.plist. So to do that, we need to use proper tree. So just double click on proper tree, right click on proper tree.command and click open, and then click open. And that's going to open up this little box. And what we need to do is go File, Open, and then we're going to the desktop because we want to get to this folder. And we have EFI, OC, config.plist, and click Open. Now let's put this over here, and let's go back over to the OPENCORE website right here. And since we're done with ACPI and all of these SSDTs, we can move on down to Quirk. All right, but first I want you to go ahead and just delete these warnings. We don't need them. And it just makes our config.plist a little neater. Okay, so we'll go down here. We're looking for quirks, and there they are. Now, all of these, no equals false, and if it said yes, it equals true over here. Now, what you're going to notice is all of these are correct. Okay, all of these are correctly set. So let's go on down to booter and these quirks right here. So here's booter, and we'll go down here to these quirks. Okay, now the first two of these need to be true. One of them that is, and this one is not. So we want to set it to true because we are using a Z390 Coffee Lake chipset motherboard. Now it also states here that we need to also turn on Protect UEFI services, which is right here for our Z390. Now if you were building a computer that was Coffee Lake, but it wasn't a Z390, then these settings would be different than here. But we are using a 390, so we have to set these correctly. Okay, so we're done with that. So let's go down here to Enable Safe Mode Slide, and that is right here. And it is true. And then Enable Write Unprotector is set to true, so we're good there. And then we'll go on down here to Provide Custom Slide. Right here. Okay, because we already turned on this one. And it is set correctly. So the only other ones we need to check are set up virtual map, and we'll go ahead and turn that to false. And then sync runtime permissions needs to be true. All right, device properties right here. Now if we were going to try to use the onboard graphics, then we would have to do this information right here in this section right here. But we're using a graphics card, so I don't need to do that. So let's move on down here past this to kernel. All right, here's kernel. And what we want to do, scroll down here, all of this is okay. And we want to get to where it says quirks again. So we'll just scroll down till we see quirks. And there they are. Now we want to verify all of these settings. So the first two need to be true. And then this is no, no, no. And then disable low mapper needs to be set to true. Okay, we can move on down here to all the way down to right here. Panic no kext dump. All right, that needs to be true. And then power timeout kernel panic needs to be true. And USB, this is XHCI, which is our USB port limit, we need to set to true. And we're not having any USB issues with this motherboard setup, so it's really nice. Okay, let's move on down to miscellaneous, which is right here. And we can skip a lot of this until we get down to right here, debug. Do you see that? Debug. So the first two need to be set to true. All right, and then right here where it says target, that needs to be set to 6.7, and then enter. All right, so let's move on down here to security, which is right here. Allow NVRAM reset, true. Allow set default needs to be true. And then we'll come down here, we got a couple things we need to change. Right here, scan policy needs to be 0. And vault needs to be optional. Optional. Enter. All right, we're almost done. NVRAM. Right here, NVRAM. Okay, here guys, we need to change our boot arguments. If you remember Clover, this is basically the same area. The same thing as in Clover under boot. These are our boot arguments. So let's just go down here a little bit. And we need to add a couple. So what I do is I go over here, double click, and then put a space between each argument. So I need to add this debug argument. Just copy, paste it in, and then another space, and we need this other one here. Paste it in. That's for our audio. Okay, so we're good on the arguments. Now, if you're using a 57 or a 5000 series graphics card, then you need to add this right here to the end of this line with a space, because this is for 5000 series graphics cards. If you don't add it to there, then you'll get a black screen when you try to boot. So that's what that's for. All right. All right, let's move on down here until we get right here, preferred language. Okay, and this is English right here. These characters, so I'll just copy it and just put it into here. Hit enter. And if you need a different language, then you can click right here under Apple Keyboard Layouts, and that'll take you to a web page that'll give you other languages. All right, so we're good until we get down here to right flash. Let me go over here. Right there, right flash needs to be true. Now we're at platform info. Now this is where we're emulating a particular iMac computer, and we're emulating an iMac 19,1. So this is set up correctly for our Coffee Lake. All right, so we're good with that. All of this is good. Everything here is fine. And then we want to get down here to UEFI. And guys, all we have to do here is go down to the bottom, almost to the bottom, where it says quirks, right here. And we've got request boot var fallback, which is down, clear down to the bottom here, right here, needs to be set to true. Okay, everything else, all of this is fine by default. Now there's one more thing we have to do. We have to inject all of the KEX, the SSDs, and the drivers into our config.plist. So go up here to File and do OC snapshot, and then you want to go to the desktop to that EFI folder, then EFI again, OC, and click Choose. And that just injected all of those drivers and KEX. But if you'll notice right here, these say false, and they should say true. So we're going to go back up here to File and do OC clean snapshot. And we'll go back like this, just making sure that you're at the right place, and click Choose, and it just turned everything on. Now we can File, Save, and we are done. Okay guys, so now what we got to do is we've got to put in our vanilla USB drive that we just made by using a video up here in the description up above. It's going to pop up. It'll show you how to make a USB drive, a vanilla USB drive. So I'm assuming you already have one ready to go, and we're going to plug it into the computer. Now we're going to use Mount EFI to go over to the Efi partition on the USB stick. So we use Mount EFI to do that, and we want to right click on mountefi.command and click Open. And it's going to bring this up, and we want to mount the USB stick, which is install Mac Os Catalina, install Mac Os Catalina. So I'm going to press 1, put in my password, and right there my hidden Efi partition just came up. So I can get out of here, get out of here. All right, now let's double click on Efi partition, and what we want to do is double click on our Efi folder and grab this Efi and put it right into the stick. All right, so now we are ready to go into the BIOS, get everything set up to where we can start booting the computer and putting Mac Os Catalina on it. All right, okay, so we can go ahead and eject out of here, and let's get into the BIOS. Okay, what we want to do is start tapping that delete key. And there we are. Okay. Now, if you boot the computer up or you get into your BIOS and it looks like this, we want to go over to the advanced mode, which is right here. You see this? Which is F7, because we want to use the advanced setup. All right? Okay. So we can use the arrow keys to go around to these different menu items at the top. It's easier to use the arrow keys than it is to use the mouse because the mouse just gets in the way. All right, so let's go over here to Advanced, and we want to check all of these settings. So under this first one, Platform Miscellaneous Configuration, everything is fine just the way you see it here. And this is by default. Now we'll go to CPU Configuration, and everything in here, guys, is fine by default. Go out of there, hit the Escape key. System Agent, right here we want VTD disabled. And we want above 4G decoding enabled. Everything else is fine here. Hit Escape. PCH configuration, everything's fine just the way it is. PCH storage configuration, we definitely want the SATA controllers enabled, and we want it to be AHCI for SATA mode. Hit Escape. Everything here is fine under Advanced PCHFW configuration. Onboard device configuration. Okay, we want to make sure our audio is on, our LAN controller is on, and we'll go down here and check everything else. We want to make sure at the bottom here that the serial port is turned off. Okay? All right. And also, since the onboard Bluetooth and Wi-Fi will not work, we want to make sure that that is disabled, just so it doesn't interfere with the FenV card that we put in this computer. Okay, we'll escape out of here. APM configuration is fine the way it is. PCI subsystem settings, disabled. USB configuration, enable. Network stack is disabled. NVMe, yes, there's two of them in this computer. So it's just showing you that it sees them. All right, let's go over to boot right here. Boot configuration. We want to make sure CSM is disabled. Very important. Secure boot needs to be set right here to Windows UEFI mode, not other OS. So we want it under Windows UEFI mode. And we'll go back and everything else looks fine. So now what we'll do is just go over here to exit and we'll do save changes and reset and hit enter. And we're going to now boot from the USB stick. If you've got something on your hard drives, then you want to hit the F12 key so we make sure that we boot from the USB stick. Okay, when it gets up to here, we want to choose Install Mac Os Catalina External, meaning it's the external USB stick, and hit Enter. We'll go through a lot of text like we always do with these Hackintosh computers, and we're going to come up to the Format screen, the Disk Utility screen, and we'll continue on with this baby. All right, be right back. Now guys, it'll get stuck on a couple of lines pretty long, you know, maybe 20 seconds on a line or two. And if you're using a USB 2 stick, it will be slower than if you use a USB 3 stick. So this will be my second time installing this, actually third time, and this is on a USB 2, and I notice it's quite a bit slower than the USB 3 that I used before. So you want to keep that in mind when you're using a USB stick. You definitely don't want to use an old USB 1 stick. It'll be really slow. All right, here we are. So we'll just go to Disk Utility, click Continue. We want to make sure right here that we choose Show All Devices, where it says View, and hit that down arrow, Show All Devices. Now I can see all of my hard drives, okay? So I'm going to install it on the 2 terabyte, and I'm going to click Erase, and I'm just going to name it Mac OS HD, and we definitely want to change this to APFS, the format, and GUID partition map, and click Erase. Really fast. Okay, we'll exit out of here and install Mac OS. Click Continue, Agree, and Agree. And I'm going to grab that 2 terabyte and install. And it'll get down to about 2 minutes remaining. It'll reboot on its own. And this will take about 5 minutes. And as soon as it gets down closer here, I'll come right back. Okay, guys, coming down. We got 2 minutes remaining, so let's see what happens. It should reboot. There it goes. Okay, leave your USB drive in there because we have to boot from it again. Now, when it comes up this time, it should default to Mac OS Installer. And we'll just hit Enter on that. And it's continuing the install. We're on the hard drive now, so it's a lot faster. All right, so now we're going to come up to the Apple again, the Apple logo. And this bar is going to go completely across the screen. So it says about 12 minutes remaining, and that is about right. So we'll come back when it gets down to less than a minute remaining. Now guys, this computer is really quiet and is super, super fast. So if you get one of these, you're really going to like it. Everything just works beautifully with it. Nice setup, nice motherboard. We've got that Noctua CPU fan on there, so it's really quiet. And the case fans don't make hardly any noise. So you're going to like it. All right, there it goes. So we got one more reboot. So we'll leave our USB stick in the computer. Okay, guys, this time when it comes up, we want to make sure we're booting from the name of the hard drive. Whatever we named our hard drive, that's what we want to boot from. So I named it Mac OS HD. So I'm going to hit Enter. And here we go. All right. We're coming up to it. Super fast. And here we go. So we just do our thing here. Pick our country. Continue. I'll just continue here. And I've got my Wi-Fi, so I'm going to go ahead and log into my Wi-Fi. All right. Continue. Continue. I do not want to sign in to Apple right now because I have not changed my serial numbers. And if you log in right now, you stand a chance of blacklisting your Apple ID login. So set up later, agree, and agree, and go ahead and name it whatever you like. This is your login, and give it a password. Continue. And customize here, I always choose enable location services, and I turn off analytics. Continue. And I can just continue on this screen. You can use Siri if you want. I'll leave it enabled. I don't want to record anything right now, so continue. And here you can choose light or dark mode. I'll choose dark mode. Most people like that the best. And here we go. Okay, so now we just follow the instructions here. Click continue and hit the key next to the left shift key. So mine's a Z. And then over here on the right, mine's a question mark next to the shift. And then I'm done. Okay, so we're all done. So now we'll go back over to the TechNolli website because we need to transfer the Efi folder that we have here in our USB stick to the hard drive. So we're going to need a few programs here. So I'll go over here to downloads and I'm going to grab mount EFI so I can mount the EFIs on both the hard drive and the USB. So just download that again real quick. Allow. And I'm going to need Gen SM BIOS to generate new serial numbers. Okay. All right. Now let's see, is there anything else I'm going to need? Nope, because everything else is working good. All right. So let's go out of here and let's go to our downloads. All right, so the first thing I need to do is mount my EFI partition on the USB stick and on the hard drive. So I'm going to use this EFI mounter. Right click and open on mountefi.command. All right, here it is. Now I want to mount the EFI on the install Mac Os Catalina, which is here. So I'll press 1, put in my password. And then I also need to mount my Mac OS HD, which is number 5. Okay. All right, let's go out of here. And we'll close this out. Now I'll just go over here to the hard drive, and I want to go into my EFI partition on the hard drive. And notice there is no folder in here, so I need the folder out of the EFI partition on the USB stick. And there it is. I drag it and drop it. Now I don't need the USB stick anymore to boot my computer. All right. But now I want to go over here to downloads, and I want to generate new serial numbers. So I'll double click and then right click on gen.smbios.command, open and open. All right. Now I want to press number 1 to install. And then hit enter and then select number 2. And what it wants to know here, guys, is where is the config.plist? Well, it's on my hard drive. So I'll go over here and I'll go to my EFI partition, Efi Folder, OC, and here's my config.plist. So I just grab it and drag it over into this box here and hit enter. Now it knows the path to my config.plist. Then all I do is press number 3 to generate SMBIOS. And it wants to know here, what is the product name for this particular computer? Remember, it was called an iMac 19,1. So we just type in iMac 19,1 and hit enter. It just generated the serial number, the board serial, and a UUID number. Hit return, and that's it, guys. We are done with this. So now we can boot up the computer without the USB stick, and we're going to have new serial numbers, and everything should be fine with iServices. So let's go ahead and restart just to make sure everything is working properly. Okay, it's going to come up to the menu again. And if you have dual boot, in other words, if you have Windows on one of your hard drives and Mac OS on the other, then Windows is going to show up in this little menu. But I just have my Mac OS HD, so I'll hit enter. And away it goes. If you want to get rid of all of that text, you can do that in the config.plist using proper tree. Under boot arguments, you want to remove the -V. So that is it, guys. We are in. We are good. This computer is super, super fast. It's got nice graphics. We've got Bluetooth working. I'll show you that right here. Okay, I'll show it right up here in the bar. So Bluetooth is working. Wi-Fi is working. Everything on this computer works fine. We also have our sound, which is right here, and we've got internal speakers, which would be like the headphone jack. Input, we can plug a microphone in or line input, and everything works on this computer. It's really nice. You're going to like this one. So what do you guys think of this computer? Is it just too much? You don't need that much? It's a nice one. It's a nice one. Let me know in the description below. Guys, I really, really, really sincerely appreciate you subscribing to my channel, watching my videos. It is very, very much appreciated. And please, if you're having any issues with your computer, you can try to leave a message in the comments below. I try to answer comments when I first go live with a video. For the first day, I try to answer as many comments as I can. So you can ask me questions there. If it's a computer or a motherboard or something that I have never done before, please don't be annoyed that if I don't answer you, it's just because I don't know. Unless I've had something in my hand and I've experimented with it, it's hard for me to tell you if a laptop's going to work. There's so many variables, and so it's impossible for me to say, oh, sure, it's going to work, and just use this Efi folder. No, it's not. Unfortunately, it's not that easy. You have to experiment, and that's what's really nice about the OPENCORE website, because you can try different things. But I'm sorry I can't, answer all of those questions because it's more involved than that. So again, thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next video.